Welcome, 8th graders, to this explainer. Have you ever looked up and wondered why a perfectly sunny morning can literally turn into a booming thunderstorm by the afternoon? Or why the wind just decides to howl out of nowhere? Well, today we're decoding the sky. We are looking at the brilliant divine mechanics of our weather and atmosphere. Let's look at the incredible machine surrounding our planet and find out exactly how it all works.
So here's our game plan for today's lesson. First, we'll look at the divine design of weather. Then we'll break down the engine, that's the sun and air. After that, we're covering air masses and fronts, followed by weather in action. Then we've got a quick knowledge check, and finally, we'll wrap up by connecting all this to education, morality, and peace. We are moving all the way from the hard science of air pressure to the ultimate philosophy of true education.
Okay, let's dive into this. Section 1, the divine design of weather.
You know, it's so incredibly easy to step outside, feel a gentle breeze on your face, and take it totally for granted. But the truth is, the weather is the result of massive, highly orchestrated interactions between air, water, and the sun's energy. As Psalm 135, verse 7 says, "He makes clouds rise from the ends of the earth. He sends lightning with the rain and brings out the wind from his storehouses." Just think about the sheer scale of that imagery for a second. Weather is this complex global interaction of scientific elements, but it's absolutely not an accident. Every single snowflake, every raindrop, it all begins in God's storehouses, following precise patterns designed by the Creator. And understanding this, it's not just about memorizing facts for a test. It affects absolutely everything we do. On a micro level, it dictates what clothes you're going to pull out of your closet today, but on a macro scale, it impacts the crops that grow to feed the entire world. Knowing how weather forms actually helps us stay safe when severe storms roll in, and it informs incredibly crucial decisions for travel and farming. God gave us the tools to observe and predict these patterns, and as we learn about the processes behind these massive events, recognizing that brilliant design ultimately deepens our respect for His power. Moving on to Section 2, the engine, sun and air. If weather is a giant machine operating in the sky, we need to understand its gears and pistons.
Let's move to and see how this builds, because in this machine, the ultimate power source, the spark that starts the whole shebang, is the sun. It's a continuous 4-step process. Step 1, the sun heats the Earth's surface, but it does so unevenly. The equator gets really hot, right? While the poles stay cooler. Step 2, because of this uneven heating, differences in air pressure begin to form all over the globe. Step 3. This pressure difference means the newly warmed air begins to rise up into the atmosphere, while the cooler, denser air sinks down to take its place. And finally, Step 4, that rushing of air to fill the gaps is exactly how wind is created. It's like a fascinating, continuous mechanical loop happening everywhere all the time. So let's test that logic for a second with a quick homework check. Think about the process we just covered. Why exactly does warm air rise? Take a moment and really think about what the sun is actually doing to the molecules near the Earth's surface. Did you get it? It's because of that uneven heating from the sun. This heat causes the air to become less dense, so that warm air naturally rises. This fundamentally alters the air pressure and drives the Earth's entire weather engine. It's so important to remember that even when the weather feels totally random or chaotic to us down here on the ground, every single movement follows the laws of science beautifully designed by our Creator. Section 3. Air masses and fronts. Now I want you to imagine giant invisible balloons of air slowly traveling across the continents. If the sun and pressure are the engine of our weather, then air masses are the giant vehicles carrying it. An air mass is simply a large pocket of air with a similar temperature and humidity. Some of these are freezing cold and incredibly dry, forming over Arctic ice. Others are sweltering hot and packed with moisture, building up over tropical oceans. As they travel across the globe, they carry those specific weather conditions right along with them. So try to visualize these massive pockets carrying our weather right over our heads. Since we have these massive pockets of vastly different air constantly moving around the globe, they're bound to crash into each other eventually, right? So here is another homework check for you. What happens when a freezing cold front collides directly with a warm front? And this brilliantly illustrates the sheer power of these collisions. It creates a massive disruption. When a cold, dry air mass crashes into a warm, moist area, that warm air is violently forced upward because it's lighter. The result? A cold front thunderstorm, towering storm clouds, heavy rain, the whole dramatic show. Now, on the exact opposite side of the spectrum, we have high-pressure sunshine. A high-pressure system brings heavy, sinking air that acts almost like an invisible shield, physically stopping clouds from ever forming. That's what gives us those perfectly sunny, clear skies for a perfect picnic day.
Section 4, Weather in Action. Let's shift our focus to some of the most powerful examples of these divine mechanics. Let's look at one of the most awe-inspiring displays of force on Earth, hurricane genesis. How do these massive, continent-sized storms actually come to life? Well, it starts when warm tropical waters act as massive fuel tanks. As that surface water heats up, it evaporates high into the air and then condenses. And as it condenses, an absolutely immense amount of energy is released directly into the atmosphere. This energy release acts like a giant, unstoppable motor, spinning the storm faster, stronger, and larger. It's the ultimate example of what happens when you add extreme moisture and immense heat to the atmospheric engine.
Section 5, checking our knowledge. Let's take a second to test what we've learned and lock in those scientific mechanics.
Homework check. Thinking back to our atmospheric engine and all those moving parts we talked about earlier, what are the fundamental elements that cause wind to form? You've got this.
So the crucial point is, it all comes back to temperature and pressure. Wind forms when the sun unevenly heats the earth, creating pressure differences that literally force the warm air up and the cool air down. That continuous, rushing cycle of air desperately trying to balance the pressure, that's exactly what you feel blowing past you outside.
Okay, one last science homework check to make sure you totally understand the difference between stormy fronts and clear days. How does high pressure affect the weather?
It acts just like a lid. High pressure brings heavy, sinking air downward, which entirely prevents clouds from forming, giving us those beautiful, uninterrupted sunny skies. It is just so amazing to see how God's hand and his natural laws are just as active in the calm, quiet, sunny moments as they are in the mighty, chaotic storms.
Section 6, education, morality, and peace. Now we're going to shift our focus a bit from the purely scientific to the philosophical.
We've spent this explainer looking strictly at the incredible science of the atmosphere. But what's really interesting here is that scientific understanding is only one part of true education. The core message of the Heroes Smart Academy Godly Learners series is that education without biblical morality will ultimately hurt us. Think about it. What is the point of being highly educated, of knowing exactly how a hurricane forms or how barometric pressure dictates the wind, if we continue to make moral choices that cause pain to ourselves and others? True education intertwines our academic smarts with a strong moral foundation. Understanding the science is only half the battle. Combining it with good, righteous choices is the true key to a fulfilling life.
I want to leave you with this powerful promise of peace from Romans chapter 8, verses 6 and 7. It says, "The mind governed by the flesh is death, but the mind governed by the Spirit is life and peace." As you engage with the world and learn how it works, remember that a perfectly balanced education doesn't just fill your head with weather facts, it transforms your heart and guides your decisions. So 8th graders, the next time you look up at the clouds, ask yourself, are you just growing in knowledge, or are you actually growing in wisdom and true peace of mind? Thank you for joining me for this explainer. Keep learning, keep looking up, and make great choices.